The European Union has removed Nigeria from its list of high-risk financial jurisdictions. According to Business Insider, the European Union confirmed on Wednesday that Nigeria, along with South Africa, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mozambique and Tanzania, has strengthened their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing frameworks and no longer show strategic deficiencies under EU standards. The Commission noted that reforms implemented by the affected countries aligned with their financial systems with the international benchmark set by the Financial Action Task Force.
After Brexit, the UK established its own standalone list of high-risk countries for anti-money laundering and terrorist financing purposes, separate from the EU list. Under the UK's money laundering regulations, countries are designated as high risk based on the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, lists of high-risk jurisdictions. We're joined this morning by the economist Gbolahan Olojede to break this down. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
All right. Nigeria has initiated many reforms since the Tinubu administration. Our economy is expanding moderately with growth rate average of about 7.378 to about 3.9% in 2025. Are you able to tell what metrics the UK would have used to decide to delist Nigeria and what level of economic stability would have been required for that?
Well, the issue of, what has just happened is premised also on the fact that we were removed from the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force in 2025. Now, the Financial Action Task Force, which is an informal, which is something which was set up by the G7, considers certain financial risk within the financial systems of certain countries to determine whether they will be on the blacklist. There's a list called the blacklist. That is the no list. Then you have the grey list, which is where Nigeria was until it got removed in 2025. Now, essentially, that list is based on certain weaknesses in the financial system. Weaknesses along two major issues. Number one is money laundering, and number two is counter-terrorism financing. So when your financial system is said to be weak along those lines, then they put you on the grey list or on the blacklist in an extreme situation. And what is required is also clear. Those weaknesses that have been identified, you are expected to improve on those weaknesses and you can be pulled out of the grey list. That is what Nigeria has done. Interagency cooperation between the NFIU, EFCC, and the CBI and all of that has improved over the period, and that created the basis for the monitoring team to come around, take a look at what is going on, do some inspection, monitoring, and all that stuff, and agree that, okay, at this level, Nigeria needs to be pulled off the FATF grey list. Based on being pulled out of that is what we're now seeing with UK or EU, as the case may be. UK and EU are members of the FATF.
All right.
Now that we've been pulled out of this grey list, what does it mean for Nigeria going forward? What's the significance of it?
Yeah, what it says in summary is that, look, the Nigerian financial system is credible as far as issues of, as far as the framework on issues around money laundering and counter-terrorism financing is concerned. So the FATF and the UK and European Union are saying we are comfortable with the financial system of Nigeria as far as those issues are concerned. So what could have been, what that means is that foreign investors who are looking into making investment into Nigeria are going to be much less worried about issues of money laundering and counter-terrorism financing, in Nigeria. And that is good. That is definitely good for the country. Then the cost of compliance issue, because some investors who might want to come will be like, okay, when Nigeria was still on the grey list, you now have to run a lot of clarification, a lot of compliance issues to be sure that you're not walking into money laundering and all those other things. But now, the cost of that compliance has become lower because the countries that put us on the list have pulled us out of the list, saying we are now comfortable with what Nigeria has done in that space.
Okay, now you've spoken to the benefits and what this will mean for us financially in terms of business credibility. This decision is expected to ease trade, payments, and investment flows between Nigeria and Europe. But how do you recommend that the Nigerian government moves to utilize this opportunity?
Well, number one very important thing is that whatever we do, we should not find ourselves back on that list, because we can get back on the list if we take steps that will set us backward as far as the measures we have put in place is concerned. And in a year like 2026, which is a pre-election year, there are pressures, there are things that could pull us in the direction, or that we do not want to go back to. So we have to be very careful about that. Then, as far as taking advantage of this is concerned, we need to make this information available to everybody. Through our embassies and consulates across the world, or wherever represent us, we can make that information available so that people who might not know can get to know in all the jurisdictions where we have representation.
All right.
Then within the domestic economy, our people also need to be aware of that.
I just also want a bit of clarification in the area of, you talked about us making sure that we take steps that do not take us backward. Right. And we should make sure that we do whatever we can to not ensure that we find our way back into the list. Earlier today, we had the conversation about how Nigeria has paid some money to an external, for lobbying externally, to sort of rebrand our image in terms of saying that there isn't, communicating to the United States the efforts that have been made to ensure that Christians are being protected and that there isn't Christian genocide. Does that in any way tie to, this sort of brand perception? Does that tie to how we are also going to be perceived financially in terms of financial fiscal responsibility?
It does. If the people we are dealing with, whatever that organization is that we are dealing with, if there is no transparency as to the transaction in itself, if there is no proper KYC as to the guy that we're dealing, the institution that we're dealing with, but where we have fulfilled all the KYC requirement for, participating in such transaction, or for being part of that transaction, we know who we are dealing with. We know this is not a terrorist organization, for example. We know that this is not a sanctioned organization. We know who the beneficial owners are and all of that. If we have fulfilled that, there is transparency. And anybody from the outside who is looking at that transaction and want to find out exactly what it is all about will be able to do that. So that is what is important. But if we have done it in such a way that the KYC for the organization we are dealing with is not properly put in place, so it means that if we pass money to that kind of an institution and we have not checked that this is an institution that is credible, then we might have been financing terrorism without our knowing. I'm not saying that that is what we're doing. I'm just saying that if we did not do the right thing, we might find ourselves there. A lot of spending comes with pre-election year, which is also part of what I'm saying.
Yes.
And when we're making all this spending, we must, on the top of our mind, must be issues around money laundering and terrorism financing.
Now, Mr. Olojide, to the general public watching us this morning, are there any tangible benefits from this decision? And will it impact the ordinary Nigerians who will remain within elite financial and political circles?
Well, we can all do with good news. So it is good news to know that this has happened to Nigeria. So for the ordinary citizen who has been hearing the fact that, oh, Nigeria is treated in this way, is treated in that other way, a little bit of positive news could be good for them. Number two is that as far as the man on the road is concerned, the direct impact is he cannot see it. But indirectly, if the step is going to encourage investors to be able to come into Nigeria, it means that over time, everybody will be a beneficiary of improved business environment, improved foreign direct investment in Nigeria, and that citizen will also be a beneficiary of such move.
Now, Mr. Olojide, you mentioned something earlier when my colleague did probe you on not falling back into that there's a possibility of being falling back to the grey list. What role did domestic institutions like the CBN, EFCC, NFIU play in meeting EU FATF benchmarks? Are they adequately resourced? Is it going to become institutional, or is just a one-off thing that we pulled off?
It is actually institutional. As a matter of fact, these were the key agencies at the heart of the reform that pulled us out of the brinks of the grey list. The CBN is the supervisory body for the banks, for financial institutions. And you see, when you're talking of financial systems, financial institutions are the heart of the financial system. So the regulatory environment, the monitoring, the compliance, as put in place by CBN is critical. It has delivered where we are, and we must sustain it. Of course, a lot of interagency cooperation is required. A lot of technology is being deployed. I lead the financial services group, and I know when I see all those, our compliance team filing all those reports, they are all done on technology platforms. So it's different from many years ago when you have to type out all those things and have it delivered physically. Now, all those agencies, they have their platforms. Whatever report you want to submit, you submit it. And even collation of some of this report have been automated. So the system in itself can pick all transactions above a certain limit and compile them and put them in a report, and they can be sent, as it were. So those agencies are critical, and they are doing a lot in the area of reporting. Reporting is one part of the reform that we're talking about. They're doing a lot, and I hope we just sustain what we have gained so far.
Very positive news there, and we really hope we sustain it. Like you said, it's become institutional. It's not just a one-off thing that Nigeria pulled off. We would like to say thank you to you, Mr. Agbona.
Thank you, Mr. Olojide.
Thanks for always giving us your valuable time and insight here on Breakfast Central.
Thanks.
Do we have a fantastic
Thanks for having me. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You're welcome.